Most people will never get out of debt. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't earn enough, because the system they're trying to escape was specifically engineered to keep them inside it, and nobody told them that. If you've ever searched how to get out of debt, tried a debt payoff strategy, Googled pay off debt fast at midnight, and woken up the next morning with the exact same balance, this video is the one you were actually looking for. How to escape debt isn't a motivation problem, it's a mechanics problem. And the mechanics are what we're covering today. Credit card debt, consumer debt, the debt snowball, the debt avalanche, how to manage debt when the interest rate is moving faster than your payments, all of it. In this video, you'll have a specific order of operations, not theory, not inspiration, the actual sequence that works in the exact order it works in. Debt-free isn't a dream, it's a decision made with the right information. And 3 things are going to hit you in this video that your bank has always hoped you'd never connect. Those 3 things, hold them. We're starting now. Why do most people never escape debt? And why is the word laziness the most profitable lie the system ever told? Because debt isn't designed to be eliminated, it's designed to be maintained, serviced, renewed. There is a fundamental difference between a system built to help you escape and a system built to keep you subscribed, and credit card debt is the purest example of the second one. The mechanism is the minimum payment. It looks like help. It functions like a trap. On a $5,000 credit card balance at 22% APR, your minimum payment sits around $110 a month. Roughly 90 of that is pure interest. You're moving $20 toward your actual balance. $20. That's not a repayment plan. That's a maintenance fee on money you already spent. Pay minimums only on that $5,000, and here's what actually happens. You spend 17 years paying it off. Total interest paid? Over $6,600. You borrowed $5,000, you hand back $11,600. The minimum payment isn't a safety net. It's a retention strategy dressed in the language of financial responsibility. The trap isn't your discipline. The trap is a mechanism designed to profit from the feeling that you're handling it, when you're not. The lesson? The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed, just not for you. And once you see that, once that clicks, the question stops being how do I pay this off, and becomes something sharper. Which method actually gets me out the fastest, and what has been slowing me down without me knowing it?
What's the real difference between the debt snowball and the debt avalanche? And why does choosing the wrong one silently cost most people thousands of dollars they never see leaving their account? The debt snowball says, list your debts from smallest balance to largest, attack the smallest first, regardless of interest rate. Every time you kill a balance, you roll that payment into the next one. The psychological reward is real. Clearing a debt, even a small one, produces a measurable dopamine response. Momentum builds, behavior sustains. It's like clearing the smallest room in a wrecked house first. Doesn't fix the house fastest, but it proves the house can be fixed. And for some people, that proof is the only thing standing between starting and quitting. The debt avalanche operates differently. List every debt by interest rate, highest to lowest. Attack the most expensive one first, every spare dollar, every month, while paying minimums on everything else. Mathematically, it isn't close. Real numbers? $12,000 in total debt across 3 cards, $400 a month available for repayment. Avalanche versus Snowball? The Avalanche saves between $1,200 and $2,000 in interest and cuts months off the payoff timeline. That's not a rounding error. That's a holiday. That's 3 months of groceries. The honest answer most finance channels won't give you: one method wins mathematically, the other wins psychologically. And the correct choice depends entirely on whether you'll quit without a quick win or whether you can stay the course for a longer payoff. Pick the method you'll actually finish. An abandoned strategy is just debt with extra steps. The lesson? The best debt payoff method isn't the one that saves the most money on paper, it's the one you're psychologically built to complete. And the reason that distinction matters becomes devastatingly clear the second you understand what your interest rate is actually doing to your money right now. What is your APR actually doing to your balance? Not in theory, but in the specific daily arithmetic of your real account. APR compounds daily, not monthly, not annually.
Every single day, your balance grows by approximately 0.06% at 22% APR. Sounds small, runs the numbers into the ground. That $5,000 balance, minimum payments only, 17 years, $6,600 in interest, $11,600 handed back on a $5,000 loan. But here's where this stops being a cautionary statistic and becomes personal. Most people carrying credit card debt right now cannot tell you their exact APR without looking it up. That number, that one number, is the most important figure in your financial life, and it's buried in the fine print by design. Here's what that means in practice. Every debt payoff strategy you've ever read about, every budget restructure you've attempted, every "I'll pay extra this month" moment, all of it is being quietly taxed by a rate you haven't fully confronted. Without knowing your APR on every card you carry, you are not managing debt. You are reacting to it. This is the re-engagement bomb. Everything covered so far, the minimum payment trap, the Snowball versus Avalanche debate, is incomplete without this number. The method is the vehicle. The interest rate is the road. And right now, for most people, that road is running uphill. The lesson? Your APR isn't a footnote. It's the engine of your debt, and you should know it better than you know your own phone number. That's exactly why the order you attack your debts in isn't a preference, it's a financial decision with a price tag, and most people are paying that price without knowing it exists. Which debt should you attack first, and what does getting that order wrong actually cost you in real numbers? The answer is the debt avalanche, not emotionally, mechanically. Rank every debt by interest rate, highest to lowest. Direct every spare dollar at the top one. Not the smallest, not the most emotionally loaded, the most expensive. Minimums everywhere else. Nothing bleeds more than necessary while you drown the dominant fire. Here's the analogy. Spreading payments evenly across all your balances while carrying high-interest debt is like fighting a house fire by spraying equal water on every room. Real numbers, 3 debts, $3,000 at 24% APR, $2,000 at 18%, $5,000 at 12%. $500 a month available. Minimums total $200. That's $300 extra. Most people distribute that $300 across all 3 balances. Feels fair, feels responsible, costs more. Direct all $300 at the 24% card. Kill it first. Roll the full released payment into the 18% card, then the 12%. Versus even distribution, approximately $900 saved in interest, 4 to 6 months removed from the total timeline. Not hypothetical, measurable, gone. The mistake most people make isn't mathematical ignorance, it's emotional logic. Paying off the smallest balance feels like winning. Paying off the most expensive balance is winning. Your feelings about which debt to clear first are costing you money, and the gap between those two things is exactly what the industry exploits. The lesson: the order you pay your debts is not a personal preference. It is a financial variable with a measurable cost, and most people are choosing it wrong without realizing they're choosing it at all. Which brings us to the 5 levers that actually collapse the timeline. And this is where the gap between people who escape debt and people who don't becomes undeniable.
What are the specific mechanical tools that make debt disappear faster than any standard repayment schedule? And what does most advice get wrong about each one? The first lever is the balance transfer. Move high-interest credit card debt to a card offering 0% introductory APR, typically 12 to 21 months. Every payment goes entirely to principal, no interest running in the background while you repay. It's like finally bailing water from a boat that someone stopped drilling holes in. The mistake almost everyone makes: they transfer the balance, feel the relief, and keep using the original card. New charges don't feel like debt in the moment. They are debt. The original card goes in a drawer the day you transfer, non-negotiable. The second lever is the one almost nobody uses, and it requires a single phone call. Negotiate your interest rate directly. Call your card provider. Ask for a reduction. Reference your payment history, your account tenure, competing offers you've received. Research consistently shows the majority of cardholders who ask receive some form of rate reduction. Almost nobody asks. One conversation, potentially hundreds of dollars saved. The mistake? Assuming the answer is no before making the call. The bank wants to keep you. Use that. The third lever is income stacking.
And this is where most advice becomes dangerously vague. Any additional income stream directed entirely at the highest rate debt creates compounding acceleration that a budget restructure alone cannot replicate. Freelance work, overtime, selling anything that isn't structural. The critical mistake? Using additional income to expand lifestyle rather than eliminate the debt that's taxing that lifestyle. Every extra pound or dollar that doesn't go to debt payoff is permission for the interest rate to keep running. The fourth lever is the one that sounds obvious until you examine how many people violate it monthly. Stop creating new debt. Every new charge on a card you're actively paying down resets progress. The balance you're killing grows back. This isn't about discipline in the abstract. It's about removing the mechanism. Cut the card, freeze it literally. Make the friction of new charges high enough that impulse spending meets resistance. New debt isn't a setback, it's a choice, and right now, it's an expensive one. The fifth lever is windfalls, and this is the lever most misused by people who are otherwise doing everything right. Tax refunds, bonuses, gifts, inheritance. The psychological pull is to treat unexpected money as permission to breathe. The holiday, the upgrade, the exhale after months of restriction. A $1,000 windfall directed at your highest interest balance can remove 3 to 4 months from your payoff timeline. The same $1,000 spent on a reward experience adds 0 to your financial position and resets none of your debt. The mistake isn't spending money on enjoyment. The mistake is spending windfall money as if it came from a different account than the one your debt is draining. The lesson across all 5: these levers aren't secrets, they're just consistently deprioritized in favor of things that feel better in the short term. And feelings, as we've established, are the most expensive thing on your balance sheet. Save this video, because the next part is the one the advice industry builds its entire business model around not saying clearly. What is actually keeping you in debt longer than the numbers should, and why does every finance channel keep wrapping this part in enough softness that it loses its edge? Lifestyle creep. Every income increase gets silently absorbed by spending that expands to match it. The raise arrives, the subscriptions multiply, the restaurants get fractionally nicer, the car gets slightly newer. The debt remains identical, just easier to ignore with more money moving around it. This isn't a character flaw, it's a cognitive bias called hedonic adaptation, the human brain's ability to normalize any new standard of living within weeks. The banks understand this better than you do. Then there's minimum payment comfort, the quiet, dangerous sedation of having paid the minimum. It registers psychologically as responsibility. It is mathematically closer to standing still. The "I'll deal with it later" loop is the most expensive thought pattern in personal finance. Debt carries shame. Shame drives avoidance. Avoidance compounds interest. Compounding interest deepens shame. A closed circuit, and the only way out is to break it with information, not willpower. Then there's reward spending, clearing a balance by $300 and celebrating with a $150 dinner. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, indefinitely. Financial stress is real. It is heavy. It compounds beyond the bank statement. But here's what's also true, and rarely said plainly. The discomfort of confronting debt will always cost less than the compounding cost of avoiding it. Always. So here's the question, and answer it honestly, to yourself if not in the comments. Are you still in debt because you don't know what to do, or because you know exactly what to do and keep finding reasons not to begin? You now have 5 levers, a payoff order, and a rate to look up. The gap between knowing and doing, that's the only thing left. Drop your answer below. I genuinely want to know which one it is for you. What does the 50-30-20 rule actually get wrong, and what does it look like rebuilt for someone who is carrying credit card debt right now? The standard version, 50% of take-home pay to needs, 30% to wants, 20% to savings and debt repayment. Clean, logical, designed for people who aren't in a debt emergency. If you're carrying high-interest credit card debt, that 30% wants allocation is a structural luxury you cannot currently afford in full. Here's the corrected version. Take-home pay, $3,500 a month. Needs, 50%, $1,750. Rent, food, utilities, transport, non-negotiable. Wants, 10%, $350. Not 0 because 0 isn't sustainable and deprivation budgets collapse, but not 30%. Debt payoff, 30%, $1,050. Avalanche order, highest interest rate first, minimums everywhere else. Savings, 10%, $350. Yes, even while in debt. A zero emergency fund means every unexpected cost goes directly back onto the card you're trying to eliminate. You are not saving and paying debt simultaneously out of comfort. You are doing it because the alternative, a cycle of emergency charges on a card you just paid down, costs more than the $350 saved. This split is temporary. It is the structure designed to get you out fastest, not to punish you indefinitely. Here's what you do today, not eventually, today. Write down every debt you carry, the balance, and the exact interest rate. That list is your Avalanche order. You now have the structure, the method, and the modified budget to execute it. The lesson? The standard 50-30-20 rule is excellent financial advice for people who don't urgently need financial advice. The corrected version is what it should look like when debt is the actual priority. Now, what does getting there actually look like at different incomes, different debt loads, and different starting points? Because this is where it stops being a framework and becomes a life.
What does debt-free actually look like? Across real incomes, real balances, real people applying one or two levers from this video to a problem they thought would take decades. A single parent, $38,000 income, $8,000 across 2 credit cards, applies the Avalanche, transfers the higher rate balance to a 0% promotional card, directs $400 a month to pay off. Debt-free in 22 months. Interest saved versus minimum payments only, over $4,000. Not theoretical. Gone. A couple. Combined $72,000. $22,000 in consumer debt across 4 accounts. They negotiate one rate down by 5 percentage points. Stack $600 a month in side income entirely onto the highest rate card. Apply every quarterly bonus as a windfall payment. Debt-free in 3 years. The minimum payment timeline was 9. A recent graduate, $29,000 income, $5,500 in credit card debt at 26% APR. Cuts wants spending from 30% to 10% of take-home pay. Redirects $350 a month to a single card. Cleared in 17 months. $2,800 saved in interest. That money didn't go to the bank. It stayed. A mid-career professional, $65,000 income, $15,000 in revolving credit card debt, 5 years of minimum payments, balance barely moving. Applies Avalanche order, transfers $6,000 to a 0% balance transfer card, directs a $2,000 tax refund as a windfall payment on day 1. Payoff timeline collapsed from 11 years to 26 months. Interest saved over $7,000. The only thing that changed was the information. A freelancer, irregular income, $9,000 across 3 cards, overpays the highest rate card in strong income months, holds minimum position in lean months, never treats a good month as permission to expand lifestyle, debt-free in 29 months. The minimum payment timeline was 14 years. The household earning $85,000, 28% of take-home pay going to wants, cuts to 10% for 18 months, stacks the entire difference onto $18,000 in credit card debt, clears it completely, then, in sequence, not simultaneously, rebuilds the savings allocation. They didn't earn more, they redirected what they already had. A 55-year-old on $42,000 fixed income, carrying $11,000 in credit card debt, negotiates 2 rates down, eliminates all discretionary subscription spending, redirects $380 a month to Avalanche Payoff, debt-free before retirement. The people who told them it was too late were wrong. A 28-year-old who genuinely believed debt-free before 35 was structurally impossible on their income, applied every lever in this video in the sequence covered here, cleared $13,000 in 27 months. The timeline didn't change because their income changed. It changed because their understanding changed. 8 people, 8 starting points, 1 consistent pattern. Not motivation, not luck, not a higher salary, information applied in the right order. The system isn't rigged against you. It's built for people who don't understand it. You now understand it. That's not a small thing. That's the only thing that was ever in the way. Remember the opening? The minimum payment printed in clean, friendly font? The number that felt like you were handling something? You were handling their revenue stream, not your debt. That's what changes from this video forward. The whole lesson, one sentence. Debt isn't a discipline problem, it's an information problem, and you just closed the gap. If this shifted how you see it, if something in here landed differently than the usual advice, you'll want to stay close, because what's coming next covers exactly what to do with your money the month your last debt clears. And most people get that moment completely wrong. Subscribe if that's the next conversation you want. One question before you go. Snowball or Avalanche? Which one are you actually going to use? Drop it below. Save this video.